We are online. Okay, so hi everyone. Hope you're doing well and let's begin. Today's topic is about consciousness and free will. So, what do you think these question arises from? Huh? How do you think? How do you see right now? Who is the person or who is that entity who is currently watching me, uh, talk in certain way and kind of feeling or having an emotional response inside of you? Who is this entity? We are going to talk about that, and also we are going to talk about the process in which these theories have came into evolution, and also the process in which current theories about consciousness and free will is, and our current understanding of the consciousness and free will are in the modern age of the modern science and the biotechnologies and all those things. So we'll begin in 3, 2, 1. Yep. So speaking about very old age, very old, thousands of years ago, yeah, in the ancient civilization, ancient modern civilization of ancient Greece, ancient China, India, ancient India, ancient um, you know Egypt. I can speak for Adi yogis in the ancient Indian culture, Adi yogic culture. So they divided all the experiences into four different parts. These are Man, Buddhi, Chit, Ahankar. Repeat after me. Man, Buddhi, Chit, Ahankar. Man is processing your complex emotion. Buddhi is processing your intellect, which is sharp and which is processing logic and common sense. Chit is basically uh, the memories inside your bodies. Inside every cell we have genetics and DNAs, which is in fact your memories. So your nose is sitting, this nose, even though doesn't, your brain doesn't remember, but your great 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 grandfather's nose is sitting on the face of yours, right? So this is genetic or evolutionary memory, right? So stuff like that. So after that, Man, Buddhi, Chit, and third one is Ahankar. Ahankar is in me, the entity. So is this part of consciousness? Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. So in a certain way, in a nutshell, when these four systems act together, they produce a conscious being. Yeah, so this is the definition, and it's so beautiful. And speaking about the counterpart of it, the scientific scenarios, how the science perceives it. So the current neurology, the anatomy of it is comprised of your top hemisphere, that is your what do we call as uh, yeah, cerebral hemisphere, and then comes the visual processing, or you can say cerebellum, and then the medulla, right, all which goes all the way to spinal cord, connect to the spinal cords. On the basis of nervous responses, it can be classified in CNS, that is central nervous system, and PNS, that is peripheral nervous system. On the basis of functionality, it can be classified as higher level function, lower level function. On the basis of lower level function, these are maybe autonomous, non-autonomous. If you consider the brain to heart connection, these are further classified into sympathetic and parasympathetic and stuff like that. You can go on and on and on, because there are a lot of connection. There are 100 billion neurons inside your head, and there are trillions of connection between all those things. But that doesn't results into the lower level of functioning of brain, right? These, what I'm explaining, is the lower level of function of brain. Now there is higher level of functioning of brain. To that I must explain the frontal region, the sensory, the motor region, the visual processing, the auditory, and the memory system, right? So in a nutshell, if I'll pick two of these systems, I'll say prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. So prefrontal cortex is responsible for your cognitive function, right? The way you think in a certain way, the way you have a common sense, the way you process logic, you process understanding, right? And there is limbic system comprises of thalamus and hippocampus and stuff like amygdala, stuff like that, which is responsible for controlling all the hormonal system in the brain. If you think in a certain, it also holds memory. So if you think in a certain way, if your emotional response are triggered, so it will release emotional hormones of happiness or joy. Or maybe if you are surrounded by negative people, and the negative emotions are generating inside your brain, so it generates negative hormones also, right? Which makes you feel sad, and that's the reason of many diseases like dementia or depression or stuff like that. So things like that. So emotion, memory, and sound and language processing happens in limbic system, and the prefrontal cortex, cognitive function. These are the higher functions of the brain. Now science also says that your limbic system is in constant battle with your prefrontal cortex, and whosoever comes out to be winner will be the final output of yours, right? So whatever the decision you are making, whatever you're feeling, whatever you are experiencing, inner body experience, outer body experiences, everything, right, are nothing but amalgamation and the manifestations of these two systems fighting together, and working out together, or maybe fighting off together some in a weird way to come out to a certain conclusion. And this is how we perceive the reality, and this is how we perceive consciousness, and this is how we perceive free will. So if you really ask how the understanding has been developed from generation to generation, and now how the modern science is kind of describing the functionality of it in a nutshell, yeah, you can still say we have no clue about it. Maybe this is an amalgamation of it, or maybe there is a higher level of uh, some sort of unknown things are there that we still need to figure out. So that kind of amazes me out, that kinds of these are the kind of things that I lost my sleep over, thinking about these kind of things. So I would love to hear what you have to say about consciousness and free will. Does it really exist? Because more than ever today and in future, this will be the big debate. You know why? Because we are moving from a conventional von Neumann micro architecture of computing, or a classical computing, to neuromorphic computing, and soon we will be into cognitive computing, wherein we'll be designing brain like computers. How cool is that? And while we are designing brain like computers, if let's say all these two functions, or all the functions and all these, in a nutshell we have described it scientifically, right? Prefrontal cortex and the limbic system, if we design these two systems and make them in a heterogeneous architecture somehow in a single die, and try to work out the information and all those things, does that computer has a free will? And if yes, should legally he should be it should be given rights or not?